You are in tune to Marvelous Talk with your player partners. Big G, what's popping, man? How you doing this Saturday?
Man, what's cracking, Mod? Man, I'm just on this countdown for the multiverse of madness and all the just the conspiracies that's out there about what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. It's bananas to me, man. But we're gonna get to it and actually find out what's going on.
Man, I'm gonna tell you something. I off camera, G and I had some great discussion. I'm gonna tell you something. G is a wealth, a plethora of knowledge. And you gotta aim G just right. You gotta always aim him just right, man. But I'm gonna tell you something. If you want to know something comic book line, comic book accurate, G is your man. Make sure you ask, and he'll definitely respond. But man, listen, we got a great show planned for you. Today we're gonna talk about some of the main things that we feel are very pertinent to understanding the multiverse of madness. And listen, here for you and yours. Make sure that you check us out, man. But before we get into this, we're definitely gonna get into this. And of course, like I said, you are joined by Big G and myself here at Marvelous Talk, man. And make sure you like and subscribe here for our channel and the channel information. And definitely for you and yours, we will get it popping for you. Uh, Check this out, man. Like I said, we have been talking about the multiverse of madness and really getting into diving into the dichotomy of the multiverse of madness and some of the things that kind of stood out to me. I mean, we had early WandaVision, right? We had this on WandaVision, and if correct me if I'm wrong. Now it's some loose, and me and G talked about this. Where it's loosely based on this, the House of M. Now let's talk about the House of M briefly. Big G, give me some background to the House of M story, comic book story.
Well, in the comic book story of the House of M, it took place right after the Avengers versus X-Men comic book line. And basically what happens is that Wanda Maximoff is deemed too powerful by Charles Xavier. And because of that, Charles Xavier works with a couple of members of the Illuminati to create a pocket dimension to put Wanda Maximoff in, but no one is aware of it except for those two individuals. And so when this pocket dimension happens and occurs, there's a lot of scenarios happen where in an instantaneous blink or a snap, like Spider-Man's married to Gwen Stacy and Wolverine has full memory and all. There's a lot of things that goes on that people just happens instantaneously. And what they find out is that Wanda basically creates this pocket dimension to where all reality can happen and everybody's supposed to be in harmony. But the whole story goes bad in a nutshell. And we're going to get to actually what happens in the end of it, or the first rendition or first issues of the House of M, because there was actually 3 storylines for the comic.
Definitely, and we've seen some things inside of the trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness that leads us back to this whole thing. One of those things being the Illuminati. The Illuminati is really steeped and based in that whole thing. Because if you heard G say Charles Xavier, Dean Wanda, and Emma Frost as well. She was one of them that were like, "Hey man, we gotta go on and take her out," because she's too powerful. But look, we have this scene here from the actual trailer right? And you can see if you really look in there, the woman right to Doctor Strange's right over his shoulder that's sitting right there. We see what looks to be Doctor Strange moving right here, and then to his left looks to be a Black Panther variant, or maybe it's a Black Bolt. I don't know. But honestly, it's kind of setting itself up. The wheels are turning, right? The wheels are turning, and it's literally setting up to be some a little different. And here's another from the actual movie. We see Wanda, the variant we know that had became the Scarlet Witch, on the floor, and whoever this Wanda is standing over the top of her. Got to be a bad boy. You know, I mean, because she done hold it. Look, if you look at this, is the Westview house, right?
Yeah.
This is the Westview house, and it's a mess. It looks like there's a fight that had just happened, and you when you see one person on their knees and another person standing up, the person standing up is probably the one that's winning this fight. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Big G.
I don't know if they were actually fighting. I think in that particular scene, what it might have happened is because Wanda is extremely powerful, right? So I think what she might have done is recreated that pocket reality. Because if you remember during that actual rendition of WandaVision, there was a lot of things where we saw Agatha Harkness come take the kids, and there was a lot of focus on what was going on Vision. We just know that Wanda was left at the house for a long time, right? So I think this is like what we know our Scarlet Witch going back and revisiting that scene, sort of like how she revisited the scene when Agatha made her go back through all the realities and deal with some of those deep pain and issues and stuff that's going on. Because I think that there's a big bad behind Wanda, but I think that Wanda is going to do some stuff to that big bad. So there's some stuff going on in that scene where I think this is where maybe she really embraces the fact of who she is versus who everybody always told her she was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, G. And I think I can see it going both ways. But honestly, there's another scene that I didn't clip to share. But there's a scene where half of her face is like contorted and tore up. And then of course, our 8Kers, the ones actually going back watching the trailer in 8K.
Yeah,
they seen something in her eyes that resembled jail cells or cells of holding cells.
Right.
Could it be that in this plot, just like in the House of M, they're like, hey, we need to bring Wanda to us because she's too dangerous. And guess who we have here in those two holding cells? None other than her two sons.
Well, I agree. I agree. I think that's what Kevin Feige is setting up for this movie. I think that that the Illuminati is going to be. Well, let me say this. I think there's going to be multiple big bads in this. That's why it's called the multiverse of madness. Everybody wants it to be, oh, it's this guy or that guy. I think you're going to have simultaneously plot lines or plot scenarios going on at the same time. I think you're going to see some stuff with Kang. I think you're going to see some stuff with the Illuminati. I think you're going to see some stuff with the Chatan that we haven't even really talked about. I think you're going to see some stuff with Wanda, and you're going to see some dark, sinister stuff from Doctor Strange. So I think there's a lot of little different things, and there's not particular one big bad in this thing, because this movie is not only be groundbreaking to reset everything that we see, but it's also going to set plot lines or plot storylines moving forward. That's just what I think.
Yeah, and G, I agree. I think this is the reset for a lot of different storylines, and one way to reset it, and one line of theory, because I have my own line of theory. You're gonna see Kang, right? And I think maybe this is kind of, as we're telling, because you can tell, just like you said, you can tell three different storylines inside of one movie. It can actually be done, and you can make people's character arcs go up, and you can bring other people character arcs down, right?
Right.
So I think you're gonna see, Kang and this kind of be our introduction to him on another level, and not the full variant or the full Kang the Conqueror. I don't think we're gonna get Kang the Conqueror in this movie, right?
Right. Right.
But I do think we're gonna get Kang willing to help Kang, right?
Mm,
Um, but I'm looking at this whole House of M theory, right?
mm,
And I'm spinning it back on his head.
mm,
What if, Big G, just what if the House of M happened already? And she
mm,
said, no more mutants.
mm.
And this is a way to reset and bring mutants back into the MCU. Not always do we go by the comic book. And I know you're going to correct me on comic book history and how that happens. But what if in the MCU, because he takes different liberties in the MCU to create a whole bunch of different stories. Everything has not stood all the way by the comic books. We can agree
Correct.
on that, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So movie wise and entertainment wise, I think he's spinning this to a way to where we can kind of, just like he did with Spider-Man, he's bringing everything back full circle and resetting the page.
Right.
So
Correct.
when I reset the page, now we got mutants in this world. Because think about it, all we got is superheroes.
Right. Well,
We don't
so
have
so
mutants.
well, so we think. We don't really. So this is the thing about with Kevin Feige. I think that with all the different things that has went on as far as plot leaks and understanding and who he's going to bring into the MCU and what characters and how he's going to reboot. The one thing that and then think about all the different title runs and how he's built the anticipation for what titles are going to come out and how they're going to tie this and that into each character. The one thing that Kevin Feige has been really, really hush about or downplayed this whole time has been his ability to bring what we call the X-Men or mutants into the MCU. Even at the last like Comic-Con thing when they had the big reveal, he was like, "Oh, you mean mutants? Oh, okay, yeah, we're going to get to them." And so he's downplayed it this whole time. So I believe that there's going to be some culminating events that you're going to know for a shot without a shadow of a doubt. There's going to be mutants in the MCU. But I think that it's more like the downplayed issue because I know this. I'm one of those people. I cannot wait to get the reboot of the X-Men in the MCU. I can't wait, right? But also at the same time, I know that Feige is like he's like building up anticipation because that's like his golden egg, right? He's already refixed Spider-Man from what we know. He's got to work on the Fantastic Four, who's the next title that's in line. At the same time, he's got to fix that mess from Sony and Fox. So could this be the culminating event? Because in the House of M, what happens is that Wanda Pietro is killed in the House of M. Just a little quick storyline. Wanda creates this perfect utopia. People start realizing that the utopia is fake, right? Pietro Quicksilver is one of them that finds out. Pietro basically wakes Magneto up. Magneto and Pietro conspire together and like, wait a minute, Wanda's controlling us like puppets. So they put some things in motion and Wanda accidentally kills Pietro. When Wanda accidentally kills Pietro, that's when she speaks the thing, no more mutants. And so we go from where there's millions of mutants across the earth to all of a sudden it's down to like 100 and something mutants. Right. So could the House of M spin on what Kevin Feige is going to do in the MCU and this be like the introductory thing that Wanda speaks mutants into existence because all the realities crash down into one thing? Could that be part of this movie? Absolutely, it could be. But I think that Kevin Feige we're not going to go from the House of M or from Multiverse of Madness to X-Men. That's not happening. It's the story is too big, and so
yeah, but G, I think you're absolutely right. We're not gonna go from that to that. There's still gonna be some evolution of the X-Men that's brought through, right? But you have the chairperson, if you will. You have the poster child for the X-Men in this
Mm.
movie.
So far, but we know we've read a lot of theories too. There's supposed to be a lot more to him in there from what we've
Right.
read and heard about. Right.
Right. So my point is if you already have a mutant in the movie,
Mm.
it would behoove him to introduce the idea or the premise of a mutant, right?
Mm.
He has to,
Mm.
because you can't have Charles Xavier existing in the Illuminati capacity, which is why we walk down that road.
Mm.
We can't have him existing in that capacity and him not be a mutant.
Well,
It,
I
it,
agree.
it
I
wouldn't
agree.
make sense. You
Right.
know what
But
I mean?
I agree. But also at the same time, I think that this is not just the House of M. I think this has got a lot to do with Chthon and how Chthon actually created Wanda, and Wanda actually figures out that her kids are fake, and that's going to drive Wanda bananas or berserk, which ties into the House of M comic book line, which ties into the whole what I've seen happen on the big screen. That I don't think Wanda's necessarily a mutant. I know the backdrop story of what Wanda actually is. So I'm seeing Kevin Feige go towards more of that. But you're absolutely correct when you're saying that he's got to tie the dispensation of mutants into this some kind of way, and it's going to be sooner than later. So I get that. As far as us who are comic book heads, we know that for years and for basically 20, 30, 40 years, we thought Wanda Maximoff was the son, or Wanda Maximoff and Quicksilver was the son and daughter of Magneto. Well, when we find out really who they are, that's one of the things. So I think that Kevin Feige is going to at least give that to the audience from the beginning, like to paint the picture that they're mutants,
And I think that may be right. And like I said, I don't display a downplay. There's evidence, proof that looks like it's Chthon, but at the same time, we saw evidence and proof of Mephisto too.
Correct.
So I mean,
Correct.
we chased Mephisto so hard.
But Mephisto was the one who the children, Billy and Tommy, are actually supposed to be shards of Mephisto.
Shards of Mephisto, right?
Right.
But we chased him, right? And
yeah.
no trace of him at all in the series, right? So my thought process on this is that I know Kevin Feige is gonna go deep enough to catch the comic book heads, but he's gonna stay shallow enough to not drown anybody who's been an MCU fan, right?
Right.
So it's a balance that he's working here inside of this whole storytelling process. Do I think that we're gonna allude to Chthon? I absolutely do. I think there's gonna be some alluding to him, but I think this is where, just like when we saw Wanda say no more mutants, just like we saw her say that, I think she's gonna speak mutants into existence in this one, and we're gonna come back to this whole world being leveled out and pressed out, because there has to be a resolution on top of a new conflict. So we have to resolve this multiverse thing, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to resolve it.
Yeah.
But then there needs to be another new conflict introduced at the end that we're gonna pick up in another movie. But my thought process moving forward on that is that's why we're seeing the House of M. And real briefly, there's a synopsis here, with the No More Mutants out of the comic book, and you can see where Charles Xavier and Doctor Strange are mentioned together, and then the Avengers as well, right? There's Wanda and Quicksilver. And then definitely they were speaking about the powers of mutants being stripped and gone, and Charles Xavier is missing. And Emma Frost tries to use Cerebro to find mutants, and just like Big G said, that where there once were a whole bunch, there's now just a couple hundred on the world, and definitely this is where we at. This is where we're at. We are at a place now where definitely I believe that Kevin Feige is introducing into the space, because I mean, we're likely going to see Reed Richards, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Likely going to see Reed Richards.
Maybe.
We already know we're seeing Charles Xavier. We're likely going to see Wolverine. There's been mention to other people in this whole thing. So, honestly, what better way to reset than the storyline you've already tapped into with
Yeah.
WandaVision. He
Right.
tapped into that storyline. It wasn't 100% this storyline, but he tapped into the storyline with WandaVision, right? So now we're here, and I just think that's where we start to jump on this boat. Go
I,
ahead, G.
I think a lot of people downplay how powerful Wanda Maximoff actually is, and I think that, that's a lot of times people downplay it because they don't want to think outside of the box of what she really is. When you say limitless and powerless, I mean, powerful and there's no limit to her power, that's a hard concept for most people to swallow, right? Because ultimately, Wanda overtakes Chthon. And Chthon is the dude that was on the earth before the Celestials showed up and planted the seed in the earth, right? So he was around before then. The Darkhold and all that stuff was around way before they even showed up, right? So that's why I'm saying that Wanda is powerful enough to where, we are really excited about that whole ideology of no more mutants. But I think that's almost downplaying how powerful she actually. So you mean to tell me that she's so powerful that she can say, speak something into existence?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, so that's why I'm like, I know this is going to be a culminating event because I really do believe this is about her kids. Chthon is, I believe, and this is my theory, I think Chthon is trying to use Wanda to break the bridge for him to come into our reality. I think we've already seen that happen, sort of play out in the trailer. And he's sending different entities that he controlled, like Gargantua, or or the big eye creature, or the creature you see that's got America Chavez stretched out and trying to kill America Chavez in the trailer. I think that that's all Chthon stuff, and he's trying to brainwash Wanda to tell Wanda, kill them all. Anybody stands your way from getting America Chavez, kill them all. Because if you kill them all and we get Chavez, I can come into the reality. But I think that's why I think that Wanda's going to flip it on him. And that's when we're going to get this Wanda that's just bananas that can say stuff like, mutants, I want my babies. Because I think he's going to tell her that Billy and Tommy never existed. And he's trying to manipulate her. And she's going to be like, what? Billy and Tommy never, my kids existed. And when she says, like, my kids existed, boom. Everything that could be. Okay, so check this out. This is just my theory too. When Doctor Strange cast the spell in Spider-Man No Way Home, right? The spell was to wipe out any person that ever knew who Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
That's good. That's
right?
Good.
But then on the timeline thing, when they cracked it open, we started seeing characters and stuff that they was like, who, we saw Kraven the Hunter, and we saw, different things that had never showed up before, right? So what if Wanda's the one that says, when she says, my kids will exist, now everything that's ever tied to her kids, including mutant kind, come into this reality. Right. But Wanda's got to go bananas in order to do that. And that's really what she was doing in the House of M. She went bananas.
Absolutely. I like that. I like that, G. And that's what I was saying as far as, in this scene where you see Wanda fighting Wanda, right? Mm-hmm. It's one of them things where, Wanda's like, one version of her is the version that's apathetic and empathetic and has been through some stuff. The other version is mad. She just don't care. She's just out of here. You know what I mean? And that version of her is uncontrollable, unquenchable, just like Phoenix, move on emotion and just destroy everything in the path, right? Right. And so what I'm saying, how I feel about this whole thing is that it's a perfect way to reboot. Yeah. It's a perfect way to reboot what we know as MCU universe. Yes. Because we've got a whole list of people that we know that we're getting. We just don't know how they're going to exist. And I think this is the actual key that's being put into the door to unlock that door to walk in that place. Right. So I believe, just like, and this is why I believe about the Chthon thing, Big G, is that you gotta at some point let her find out who she is, so that way she can operate in it. Yes. Can't operate in something you don't even understand. Correct. You know what I'm saying? You have to operate in something, you have to understand it first. You have
Right.
to have some understanding of it. And that's the thing that I think Wanda's gonna get
Which
in this
Agatha,
whole
which
thing to
Agatha
experience.
knew. Agatha knew, because remember in WandaVision, Agatha was like, "You don't even understand really what you are. You are this Scarlet Witch thing that we've talked about. It's been talked about in this book." And I think she was sort of like an agent for Chthon. You see what I'm saying? So Agatha's like, "Whoa, wait a minute. Do you really realize who you are?" But Wanda's thing is all about, I really don't care nothing about all of that. I want my babies. I don't care what.
Well,
I want
Wanda
vision.
wants,
I want vision, and I want my babies.
there it is. Wanda wants her family. She
Mm-hmm.
wants the family that has been taken away from her on every turn. That's what she
Mm-hmm.
wants.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. I want my babies. And you got to think about this. There are so many hints and so many things were talked about. And like I said, the no more mutants thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think that already happened. The no more mutants,
Yeah,
I believe that already happened.
I think that so, and this is where I get into the Kang issue, right? I think that Kang has. We're just now learning about the different variations of reality, right? And there was something that was said in the Loki series where the he who remains told Loki, "You think I'm the one? Wait till you see my other ones. That's like me. There's different variations across this multiverse, right?" So Kang, I believe, is the perfect overall big scoping big bad for this phase, because he's one that can pop in and out of different realities and have different dispensations of himself. So I think that Kang has been, when you hear Charles Xavier or Patrick Stewart say, "I think we should tell him the truth," I think that Kang is tied to that crew, right? And they've been manipulating stuff all along to sort of keep Wanda in check, because I believe that they know how powerful she is. There's only a couple Nexus beings that exist in all Marvel. So they realize and know, oh, if we just keep this girl, it's like that sleight of hand thing. If we keep moving the thing over here, she ain't gonna pay attention to really what's going on in here. So we keep moving it. Not only is she ever going to figure out who she is, she's going to have constant confusion about what she thinks she can and can't do. That's
Right.
why I think that those two shows tie together, because Agatha was like, "Oh my God, do you realize who you are?"
And
Oh,
that's why they showed us the Nexus commercial inside of WandaVision. If
yes.
you the Nexus medicine, that's why we were shown that at the very end
Mm-hmm.
to introduce the fact that she's a Nexus being. Go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
G.
But I also believe too that Wanda could have been like how you were saying, no more mutants, and I think this is the culminating event. I think she's the person that can create them. If that makes sense. And that's why I'm tying in or believing in this House of M thing, because I think she's so powerful, she can actually create them. And what we see this on the big screen, I think she can go, "I want my babies," and basically anything that's tied to them. So she can name them or call them anything that she wants to call them. She can say that my babies are mutants, my babies are mutates, my babies are off. You guys have been saying we're this, that, and this. I want my kids. And because when she says that and she's so powerful, boom, there you go. There's the whole that's like a little bitty pinhole that opens up to a whole different universe. And I believe that's what could happen.
Yeah, I believe her arc is about to go up, right?
Yeah.
We're about to see her character arc evolve again, right?
Mm-hmm.
She left Wanda Maximoff in Westview and became the Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm.
I think now she's getting, because think about this. Think about her in the astral plane reading the dark hole while the other version of her is just chilling, right? So
only person in the MCU that's been able to do that so far.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange was asleep. His body had to be asleep. He couldn't move around.
You're right.
The ancient one had to be asleep. Wanda was doing what she needed to do on both planes.
Yeah. And definitely. So my point here is that you're going to see her go from just the Scarlet Witch entitled and actually becoming that thing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And I think, like I keep going back to the dark version that we meet. I think that's the version that already whooped Chthon. I think that's the version that already handled Chthon.
Oh, you talking about when the two Wandas meet
Yep.
each other? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm down with it. I believe it.
I think that's the version that already handled him, and we're gonna get backstory, and she gonna talk to her. That's why she touches her on the face. You know what I mean? She touches her on the face after she already told her, "Look, I done faced you. Not weak. I done faced this. I done faced that. I done
Yeah.
did this. I done did that. I handled this dude, and I said no more mutants.
Yeah, yeah,
I wiped out a whole world. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? And basically, you know, at this point, you know, because I don't think she kills her. I don't think she, you know, does away with the other version of herself. I just think she's looking at that other version of herself, trying to tell that other version, you acting weak, but you're not this.
Well, what if they could actually merge? You see what I'm saying? So what if they, and that's what I'm thinking all along. I think that when Wanda becomes who she actually is. So have you ever seen little girls when they play dress up, right? And they put on their mama's clothes and the shoes and all whatever else. And then when they finally realize and become who they realize that ain't for play, that ain't for show, right? Like I'm actually a woman and I wear makeup and jewelry and shoes and all whatever else. So I think that the one that's on her knees is playing makeup, right? But the Wanda that's walking around with barefoot and all whatever else is like, oh no, I'm a full-blown woman, baby girl. And so I'm about to show you what time it actually is. Yeah. I'm going to show you who I am, and I am the Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah. I don't need them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean the swag and the prowess that she's walking with is something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean at some point America Chavez is fighting it, so we don't know which version of Wanda she's fighting. I mean,
well, America Chavez is, and see, that's another reason why I say that they got to build a story arc, and you're absolutely right about her, right? If they got to build a story arc of Wanda, you got to bring America Chavez, Miss America, right along with her, because America Chavez is a Nexus being too. She's just as powerful. She listen. When I'm telling you, her and Wanda go toe for toe, they go toe for toe for real. Oh yeah, it's like that. So if you can't bring America Chavez in the thing and then make her like she's some weak scrub, you got to bring, if you bring Wanda up, you got to bring her up. You know,
and I mean, America Chavez can throw a tank to the sun. I mean, that's how strong this girl is. Yeah. You know, she's physically that strong and can walk through dimensions just by opening the star teleporter. I mean, so you know, you got to think about this in totality. And the reason why I said I feel like mutants have been here all along, right? Mm-hmm. And they were erased by the events of the Scarlet Witch handling her business, which is why I think we got a taste of the House of M. I think we got a little bit when we were in Westview, right? Well, otherwise, why go back to Westview?
Right. Well, this is a theory, a rabbit hole theory I've been sitting on for a minute, and I haven't even shared this with Ahmad. So I'm about to reveal something that I think I figured out from a long time ago. There's actual footage. If you go back and like, if you're a rabbit hole head and a Marvel head, there's actual footage that they cut out in the original Iron Man, where Nick Fury is talking to Tony Stark. And Nick Fury says there's a handful of mutants that's running around the earth and all whatever else. He doesn't go by name, but he says Stephen Strange, Reed Richards, there's a handful of mutants running around A, B, C, and D, right? I think, and you got to remember, that was Kevin Feige's first or second project in the MCU. So I think that what Kevin Feige is going to do is reboot back to where he started from the beginning, which ties directly to the theory that you're saying, Mod, that this whole thing with the Scarlet Witch happened a long time ago, where she wiped out our understanding or ability to really see what mutants are based on the cut scene from Nick Fury and Tony Stark talking about that there was mutants all along, right? So they've been playing with reality, playing with all kind of stuff from the beginning. And so now Kevin Feige is going to reboot back to his vision that he had from the MCU at the very beginning. That's
And
what
I
I
like
think.
that. I like that, G. I like that because I totally forgot about that. The one scene that I thought about was where the general, I forget his name.
Thaddeus
Uh
Ross. Thaddeus Ross.
no, not him. The one that was creating Pietro and Wanda. When he was
Oh, Von Strucker, Baron Von
yeah,
Strucker.
Strucker.
Mm-hmm.
When he was looking at them, he implied, he didn't say mutants,
Mm-hmm.
but he implied something of that source,
That,
right?
he called them the miracles. He called them the age of miracles.
Miracles. There it is. There it is. So my thought process in this is that okay, y'all are gonna paint Wanda as a mutant,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're not gonna paint her as a mutant. She's gonna find out who she is, how she was created,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's gonna be like, "Well, I ain't like them. I could say no more," and they didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then now she's coming back to understand that was the wrong way to go,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's I think, like I said, this is a version of, like when we see Doctor Strange talking to Wanda in this field and it's real nice, and that they're not there. That's
Right.
an illusion. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Well, we
And
saw
if
it from the
she
trailer. We saw it from the trailer, right?
Yeah, if she has if she has it to where she can create illusions like that right now,
Mhm.
she's already walking down the path to becoming strong enough and becoming the person that she needs to be to say no more mutants, or to say, okay, we're gonna have mutants again.
Right,
You know what I mean?
because in WandaVision, which I always say House of M WandaVision, because Maud is right. Those storylines connect, right? But because in WandaVision, before she ever got in a hold of the Darkhold, she created a reality. Before she even knew that she was the Scarlet Witch, she created a reality. So now we're picking up her having the reality, or being able to have power stronger than what her power set actually is, months and months and months after the culmination of WandaVision, right? So now, what has she been reading in that dark hole? What has she done found out about what she can and can't do? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, it could be where, and there's the adversarial person Kang versus Wanda Maximoff, because it's always been a gang, because Kang knows how powerful this young lady actually is. And so because of that, and that's why I think Kang has got something to do with that whole panel of the Illuminati. Kang's is tied into that. I don't know if he's Superior Iron Man. I don't know if he's Nathan Richards. I don't know. But he might be the dude that's pulling puppet strings behind the Illuminati.
And he could be. Yeah. He definitely could be. Like I said, you have to resolve one issue, but leave another issue open for the next movie. So we're gonna have to resolve the multiverse. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have to resolve the multiverse and like put a pin in that and say this is it. And then we're gonna have to open up a whole new chapter, a whole new bag of worms, so that we introduce the characters and then get them out of the stuff that we've already introduced them into. So, man, I mean, that's why it's called madness.
Yeah.
That's why it's called madness, because you're driving yourself crazy trying to figure it all out. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to figure it all out. But we wanted to discuss, and I was going to deep dive into the Illuminati when it hit me that, okay, this storyline has already been kind of set up, and we're kind of driving the pace car down here real slow. Right. And I think there's going to be some detours. You're going to see some detours. And I mean, gosh, I mean, wow. Like, what better way? We reset Spider-Man already. Mm-hmm. What better way to reset the MCU and open it up to everybody inside of the MCU than this storyline? There's no better way. Right. There's just no better way.
Well, the comic book storyline of the Illuminati is that you take the most powerful individual from different dispensations of Marvel teams, and they come together secretly to control everything like puppet strings, right? So Mod has showed the picture before with Namor, with Reed Richards, with Black Bolt, with Doctor Strange, with Charles Xavier, and with Reed Richards, and eventually T'Challa, Black Panther, is invited, and then he doesn't join, and there's some stuff happen, right? So these cats is supposedly behind the scenes pulling strings on everything, right? And they make certain decisions that in turn makes the storyline or the plot line go a certain way, right? They're all powerful in their own way. They're all team captains or team leaders from their stuff in their own way. But in reality, they're coming together to push the story one way or the other, right? So why wouldn't this, and Mod, I think you're 100% on this one. Why would this not be the perfect time to introduce the fact that somebody, if it's not just the Illuminati that we know from the comics, but a group of people from different dispensations and different realities have gotten together to push the storyline in a certain way, because we know that if these certain things happen, we're in trouble, right? So that, i.e., why they got the jail and the prison, and like how you said, those folks that then zoomed in on Wanda's eyes and saw those jail cells where Billy and Tommy, we got to keep them locked up because they're dangerous with this. And I think we're going to see a whole bunch of characters like that locked up in this particular jail, to where like they're dangerous. They're dangerous.
Absolutely.
So
I think Kang is the sheriff. Honestly, I think Kang is the sheriff. I think he's the one that's rounding them up. He's going out here, rounding them up, putting them in cages, and they brought in, like, man, we need to tell you what's up. This is why we keeping Wanda at bay, man. You may feel like she's vital to helping you, but bruh, she can go left,
right? Because the TVA, we sort of saw that with the TVA. The TVA was like the lower, like if Kang's the big bad ultimate sheriff, the TVA is like his little deputies, right? And they was banning them to like a little area where they was getting hauled out by this dragon that was a gatekeeper, right? Because we thought when they was getting touched that they was disintegrating. They wasn't. They was just going to this area where this dragon was a gatekeeper and would chew them up and eat them up.
They the locals. The TVA is like the local sheriff. Where he's at with the Illuminati is like the feds.
Yeah, he's straight up fed.
Like the feds. He's straight dealing with the feds. Dude.
Yeah, he knows before you know.
Yeah,
he's a federal agent, and he got a bunch. The Illuminati are feds. Right? Feds. Right. So, but I believe that's where we're going with this story arc, because that if Kang or the one that the one who remains, or Ramatut or Nathan Richards, or all these different ones that exist out there, if they know this stuff about Maximoff, you can't tell me that they can't puppet string, right? So they playing games too.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Well, definitely, you guys, man. I mean, we've addressed some of you guys' questions. And if you have more questions, make sure you reach out, man. Make sure you like and you subscribe on YouTube and on Twitch. If you love the content that we're presenting when we go live, you'll get that notification. And leave us a message, man. Leave us a message on our YouTube page. If you have a question, something you want to know, we will definitely address that. Big G, you got a parting shot, man?
Yeah, man. I'm really excited that the fact of, and I've heard this from the rabbit hole, that we're going to get some stuff moving forward with Deadpool, right? So, and I've even heard from the rabbit hole that Deadpool possibly is in Multiverse of Madness. So I'm really excited about this whole Deadpool thing, because I think Deadpool is another one of those guys that mess with reality, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. And I believe that we saw Deadpool in the I don't think that I was just seeing stuff. We saw Deadpool in the actual flyer, the actual movie poster. So, I mean, and Kevin Feige keeps everything close to the vest. He probably threatened Ryan Reynolds' life, and he's like, look, I'm not saying anything, but he kind of said no in a real Ryan Reynolds way. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So you can kind of take what you saw and what you heard from with a grain of salt. Um, and what else do you want to add to that before we
No,
get out of here?
no. I mean, I'm excited about the Deadpool stuff and the stuff that I've heard, and I also believe that before the anticipation of the movie is coming, right? We're down to less than 60 days. This thing is coming fast, right? So I think that there's going to be a build up to that movie, but in true Marvel fashion, I think that we're going to start dropping Easter eggs with other stuff. So look for something from Thor: Love and Thunder to be coming real fast. We know that the Moon Knight show's got less than 2 weeks, so there's going to be some stuff going on with that. And I do believe that there's going to be subtle hints of Moon Knight that tie into Multiverse of Madness.
Oh,
That's just what
absolutely.
I believe. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how they do the movies and Marvel. Man, shout out to our nephew. Shout out to nephew Xavier for hanging out with us this whole time. Jaden, you guys hanging out. I appreciate you guys, man. Shonda, the girls, thank y'all for allowing us to do this, man. That's my parting shot. We love family, and y'all are a part of our family as well out there in Marvelous Talk Land. Until Wednesday, man, and we'll have some more stuff that we explore. Definitely getting ready for Moon Knight and the madness.
Yeah.
It's March, so not only March Madness are we ready, we're still the multiverse of madness we're getting up
Right.
for in May. So
Right.
definitely we will holler at you guys later. Peace.